Well, here we are. Welcome to the Series 1 finale of our explainer on General Emergence Mechanics, or GEM. Over the course of this journey, we've explored a radically different way of looking at reality, shifting our focus away from just isolated particles and random geometry, and really zooming in on the mechanics of persistence itself. Today, we're going to gently pan out. We're going to bring together everything we've learned and look at the universe as a whole. So, set aside any distractions, take a deep breath, and let's reflect on the big picture.
Consider this for a second. What if existence isn't just random noise that occasionally gets lucky? What if the universe actually actively favors stability? In standard physics, emergence can sometimes feel like a happy accident, but GEM proposes something profoundly different, that the very fabric of reality is structured by a drive toward coherence. Stable things exist because they've successfully navigated a built-in preference for persistence.
Part 1. The Engine of Persistence.
To really understand how that built-in preference operates, let's revisit the quiet engine driving the whole thing. The entire framework of GEM hinges on three fundamental axes that define a coherent shell. First up is depth, which is basically the energy barrier required to completely break the shell. Think of it as your ultimate resilience. Second is stiffness, that immediate elastic resistance to being disturbed. And third is viscosity, the relaxation timescale that dictates exactly how quickly the system recovers from a shock. Together, these three parameters decide if a structure is going to survive. Now, when these three axes are humming along in perfect balance, you get a system that's incredibly resilient. It recovers rapidly, it maintains stable persistence, and it bounces back gracefully. But when they fall out of balance, well, things break down in highly specific ways. High stiffness with practically no depth, you get sudden, brittle collapse. High viscosity, you end up with creeping distortion, or trapped metastability, where the system is just stuck in a chronically stressed state and literally cannot relax back to normal.
Part 2. Inside the coherence shell.
Having grounded ourselves in these microscopic rules of stability, let's zoom all the way out and apply these exact same mechanics to the cosmos itself. According to the source material on modal theory, there aren't an infinite number of random universes floating around in some chaotic multiverse. The underlying Z3 orbifold structure dictates exactly 3 universes. They aren't arbitrary at all. They are geometrically constrained, born from the exact same mathematical symmetry that gives us our observable physics, and they are perfectly real. Picture it like a giant cosmic landscape featuring exactly 3 vacuum basins, sitting at angles of 60 degrees, 180 degrees, and 255 degrees. Our observable universe happens to sit right in that 255-degree basin. Because of a dynamic chiral bias, our basin is actually tilted to become the absolute deepest of the 3. And because it has the greatest depth, it provides the richest persistence conditions, meaning it is uniquely capable of supporting the complex, stable structures required for chemistry, biology, and, well, observers like us. Now you're probably wondering, if these other 2 universes exist at 60 and 180 degrees, can we go visit them? And the short answer is no. Absolutely not. Between these distinct universes lie what GEM calls infinite persistence depth walls. The energy barrier to escape our local 255-degree coherent shell is effectively infinite. We are permanently isolated, not by some vast spatial distance, but by an insurmountable mechanical barrier of persistence.
And this is absolutely crucial because it completely redefines the very boundaries of reality. The ontological boundary in GEM tells us that anything outside our universe falls into one of 2 buckets. It's either subthreshold, meaning it's just transient virtual noise that simply doesn't have the coherence to survive, or it's transbasin, meaning it's a fully persistent structure locked safely away in an entirely different, completely inaccessible vacuum basin.
Part 3. A single universal language. Okay, so that covers the grand, mind-bending cosmic scale. But the true beauty of GEM is that it brings those exact same laws right back down to our everyday scale, giving us a single universal language. Through this lens, totally disconnected phenomena unite so elegantly. Gravity isn't just curving space, it's configurations moving down gradients of persistence depth. Darwinian evolution isn't just random survival, it's biological life actively exploring persistent space, looking for deeper, more stable basins. The arrow of time itself isn't just a ticking clock in the background. It's the emergent, directional relaxation of the coherent shell. Even the speed of light emerges as a property of how that shell propagates. It is honestly like a giant puzzle coming together. Watch how perfectly the 3 axes map across completely different fields. In material science, depth is yield strength, stiffness is elasticity, and viscosity is creep. Jump over to biology, and depth is resilience. Stiffness is your immediate buffering against a stressor, and viscosity is how long it takes you to recover. In computing, it maps to cost, immediate error correction, and long-term drift. It is the exact same mechanics of persistence, just playing out in totally different mediums. Part 4, Biology and the Sleeping Suit.
To really wrap our heads around how practical all this is, let's bring it out of the theoretical cosmos and down to a deeply personal scale, your own body. The source material explores this through an incredibly fascinating concept, the biological coherence pod. Imagine an engineered persistence shell built entirely to support human homeostasis and recovery. We're talking about a literal physical manifestation of GEMS principles, designed to act as a protective sanctuary that isolates your biological coherence from external noise, stress, and fatigue.
Let's crack this open and walk through the layers. It starts with step 1, the inner biological interface for sensing what your body is doing. Step 2 is posture geometry, designed to completely minimize mechanical strain. Step 3 is the chamber shell itself, physically locking out environmental gradients. Step 4 adds an actuation layer for gentle, structured modulation. And finally, step 5 handles external control and closed-loop adaptation. It's literally the math of persistence engineered into a physical space. Inside this pod, human health isn't just viewed as some static, fragile balance. It's translated directly into the language of GEM. Your stress tolerance? That's your depth. Your immediate biological buffering against a sudden shock? That's your stiffness. And your long-term recovery rate is your viscosity. The pod exists to artificially support those axes, proving that biological well-being is ultimately all about maintaining robust persistence inside an adaptive shell. Part 5. A preference for coherence. When you step back and tie all this together, a singular, frankly awe-inspiring theme emerges. Everything that exists, from the quantum vacuum to a biological cell, to human sleep, to the stars in the night sky, is simply a pattern that is managed to persist inside the coherence shell. The inside of us and the outside cosmos follow the exact same rules of survival. To exist, simply put, is to be coherent. And that brings us to the core message of the source text, beautifully summarized here. The universe isn't random. It has a built-in preference for coherence. GEM is our attempt to understand and work with that preference. I mean, how hopeful is that? We are not accidents wandering in a chaotic void. We are the rich, complex expressions of the universe's own drive toward stability. But, our journey of understanding is really just getting started. In Series 2, we're going to transition from this foundational theory into specific, real-world applications, concrete experiments, and look at how the future of general emergence mechanics is actively being built and tested across multiple disciplines right now. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Are you ready to see general emergence mechanics in action? Take these concepts of depth, stiffness, and viscosity out into your daily life. See how they map onto the world around you. And I will see you right back here in Series 2 as we continue to unpack the mechanics of existence.